The man who killed the Trump supporter in Portland, apparently, and this is news to me, some people suggested he turned his own gun on himself. I had not heard that. I had heard that his life was taken because he was attempting to flee and drew a weapon. A lot of the reporting I saw said things like there was a shootout, that there were like 40 shots fired. But now we have this narrative from the Daily Mail, which I find particularly interesting. Death of Antifa gunman who was killed by a fugitive task force after allegedly shooting at a Trump supporter is ruled a homicide. As a witness claims, cops opened fire without warning while he was eating a gummy worm and clutching his cell phone. Perhaps, but first, let's debunk some of the nonsense. It's a homicide, meaning someone killed someone else. That's it. It doesn't mean that you are committing a crime. If someone dies because of someone else's actions, it's a homicide for the most part. So if he was reaching for his gun and the cops shot and killed him, they wouldn't put like self-defense homicide. They'd say homicide. Now, as to whether or not this witness is correct, this is where it gets interesting. Was this a retaliatory killing? Meaning the fugitive task force says you killed a Trump supporter, you're going to go down. I really doubt it. I don't believe the law enforcement guys were like, how dare they shoot this Trump supporter? We don't know. Maybe. I just don't really think so. Here's a story from the Daily Mail. They say, the death of an Antifa gunman, who was killed by a fugitive task force after allegedly lying in wait and shooting dead a Trump supporter has been ruled a homicide. Michael Forrest Reinl, 48, was shot multiple times and killed by U.S. Marshals outside an apartment block in Washington state last Thursday. The officers swooped in on the self-proclaimed anti-fascist to arrest him after he was charged with the murder of right-wing activist Aaron J. Danielson, 39, during a protest in downtown Portland on August 29th. The Thurston County Coroner's Office ruled Reinl's death a homicide Wednesday, confirming the Antifa supporter did not turn his own gun on himself in the police ambush. I had not heard that. Is this the narrative that was going around, that he killed himself? I didn't hear that. An autopsy revealed he died from multiple shots to his head and torso. Thurston County Coroner Gary Warnock said it is still not clear how many times Reinl was shot by officers, but all the bullets recovered from his body have been sent to a lab for analysis. It's not clear. I mean, couldn't you count the bullets you pulled out of him? At least 4 officers, including 2 Pierce County Sheriff's deputies, a Lakewood police officer, and a State Department of Corrections officer fired multiple rounds at the suspect during the incident. The release of the official cause of death comes as a witness who lives in the apartment complex where the shooting took place cast doubts on claims made by the task force surrounding Reinl's death. Nate Dingus, an eyewitness of the police shootout, told the Washington Post Wednesday Reinl did not pull a weapon and was eating candy when the officers opened fire without warning. I don't believe this. I mean, think about it. You got a guy who's lying in wait and he commits this murder. He goes and gives an interview. He's just sitting outside in his known location eating candy. I don't believe that's true. I'm sorry. I think, look, you got to be careful about this because you got a lot of people up there who hate the cops. Maybe this guy likes Antifa. I don't know. Look, far be it from me to impugn the honor of this witness. I don't know who Nate Dingus is. And maybe it's true. Maybe the cops were like, I'll tell you what. Maybe there's a happy medium, right? Maybe this guy didn't really reach for a weapon. Maybe they thought he was, and they just said he did. Maybe they knew this guy was a violent killer who was on the run, and they were just scared and didn't want to deal with it. And they killed the guy. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm saying it might not be a retaliatory thing, like the left is claiming that they were working with the Proud Boys or whatever, and so that they were naturally. I've seen the narrative coming up from some Antifa people that he wasn't fighting back, that they just killed him. Maybe it's more they were scared of him, and still not good. So they show some of the scene. They say Dingus, 39, said he saw Reinl holding a cell phone and eating a gummy worm while strolling to his car outside the Tanglewood Terrace townhomes apartment complex about 7 p.m. that evening. The witness claimed the cops didn't identify themselves or try to arrest Reinl before opening fire. He said Reinl hid behind his car when the shooting started and did not try to get inside. The car was blocked in by 2 unmarked police vehicles, Dingus said. The witness said the cops unleashed a hail of gunfire on Reinl before pausing when one shouted stop, then opening fire once again. He also said he didn't see Reinl armed with a gun. Dingus also said the task force waited multiple minutes before giving Reinl emergency medical treatment. Wow. If the suspect did not pull a gun or reach for a weapon, the officers would have been required to warn him before shooting. Dingus's statement casts doubt on the version of events given by federal authorities. I got to be honest, I'm not a big fan of blindly believing the government, but if I had to, I believe you had two different agencies. Maybe they're lying and covering up for each other. It's a possibility. That's why body cams are important, but it's a tough call. I'm not going to give more credence to the cops because they're cops, but I will say there's more of them than the one guy in his apartment. However, the one guy in his apartment is he's a third party. He's not affiliated. So I don't know, man. Take it. You're gonna have to make assumptions on your own and figure out what you think is right. They say other witnesses told the Olympian they saw a man open fire and heard 40 or 50 shots from what they believe was a semi-automatic rifle before officers returned fire and shot him dead. You see, now this is where it gets strange. The left is going to choose to believe whoever they want. They're going to say he wasn't armed. It was a killing. While other witnesses have said, dude had a semi-auto rifle. And that seems to be the case. I mean, it sounds like it. They say the Pacific Northwest Violent Offender Task Force, headed by the U.S. Marshals Service, were carrying out an arrest warrant for Reinl after he allegedly shot dead Danielson during a protest days earlier. They go on to mention what happened with Danielson. We know this. They go on to mention what happened at the parking garage. For those that aren't familiar, he was stalking these guys. Like, he went and hid. He hid behind this little wall, grabbed his gun, and was waiting for him. It was targeted. They're going to say the warrant states Reinl sent text messages to his own son offering to trade marijuana for a handgun weeks before the murder. The victim himself was armed with a handgun, which was found in his waistband after he died and did not appear to have been fired during the incident, the documents show. If they didn't recover a semi-auto rifle, then it sounds like whatever these witnesses are were not correct. So I guess that's the gist of it, man. I don't know. I don't think there's, he said he had no choice. He was in self-defense. Look at this. They had a memorial for the guy. This is why I think we're in serious trouble. We don't know what happened with this shooting, all right? But I'll tell you what. You're going to memorialize a dude who stalked two guys and then killed one of them? Why does he get a memorial? Oh, I'm sorry. Wow, that was really, really wrong. This memorial is for Jay. Now I feel like an idiot. I'm tired. Spare me. They put up a memorial for Jay. That I totally get. This guy was innocent. But it is true. I'm looking at this photo. No, it is true. They did hold a kind of memorial for the shooter, and that's what I was referring to. I saw the photo and assumed it was the photo for the bad guy, but the Antifa guys went up to the police station and they started writing his name saying you killed this guy and things like that. So what I'm trying to get to is that you've got the left and the right, and they're both, lionizing their side. But there is an objective reality. This guy, Aaron J. Danielson, was walking down the street minding his own business. And this guy, Reinl, stalked him and executed him. And that's the objective reality we can see in the evidence. So for them to go out and write this guy's name in the street and protest the cops over this, look, man, I'll tell you what. If it's true that the cops did just unleash a torrent of bullets on Reinl without warning, that's really, really bad. That's really, really, really bad. Gonna need some evidence that's the case, though, other than the one witness saying so, because other people aren't saying that. But I'll tell you what Donald Trump is saying. Donald Trump says he will put down the insurrection if he is declared winner, and there are riots on election night. That's basically the gist of this story. Trump is vowing to crush the riots if he has to. I think we got to point out the riots seem to be chilling out. Now, I've talked to some journalists who told me, don't get your hopes up yet. It seems like Trump's strategy may have worked. Deputizing the police, I've mentioned several times. The riots are kind of slowing down. But I talked to some journalists who said there have been lulls before for reasons of just for organizational reasons. They may be rearming, they may be traveling, they may be headed to Washington, D.C. So if that's the case, then we will likely need Donald Trump to put down the, quote, insurrection. Well, he didn't say he was going to put down the insurrection. He said it's called the insurrection or whatever. I think he was referring to the Insurrection Act, saying that if we have to, we can end the violence. I am absolutely hoping that what we saw in Portland is the worst we have experienced, and we won't see anything else. But I kind of feel like we've got these warring factions that are looking for more. And the Proud Boys are going to be going up to Portland. You may have heard this. I talked about it on the 26th of September. I hope that is not that it's not violent. But I got to tell you, man, why should I assume otherwise? They're going to go up there. Antifa is going to get angry. They're going to come out. They're going to claim their community is being attacked. And if it gets violent, then there's just more reason for escalation. And I got to say, the escalation may be bad for Trump. I don't know. Depends on what the Proud Boys do. But I know the media is probably going to frame it that they're invaders anyway. Joe Biden's already saying Trump's militias. Well, if you're going to go out and do this, it's probably going to hurt Trump. I don't know about this Antifa gunman shooting himself. I did not hear that. But there's the story. Ruled a homicide. Let me just clarify one important point before we wrap up. What I mentioned in the earlier, and everybody should know, homicide does not mean murder. It doesn't mean the cops intentionally killed him without warning. It just means he died at the hands of another person. So, I don't know, just an update, I guess. I'm kind of tired today. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up in a few minutes, and I will see you all shortly.